So a couple years ago, we reviewed the Danish film Speak No Evil, and that was absolutely, undoubtedly, our most revered review we've ever given. Not one single person disagreed with us in any way, shape, or form.
Definitely not.
I still definitely do not get comments to this day on how awful our review is and how much we didn't get it, even though we very specifically say in the review exactly what the movie is about and how much we got it. We just didn't like it. That concept seems to be lost on people, that you can get a movie and not enjoy it still. So when they announced that they were doing a remake so soon after, definitely one of the quickest remakes of all time. But the reality of it is that a lot of Americans don't watch foreign cinema, and you can shit on those people all you want, but they will watch the American remake of it. So there is money to be made there, and if the story is told in a way where you're getting a similar story and people get to enjoy that, but they will not watch foreign cinema, I mean, I don't know what to tell you there. It is what it is. Do I wish that people watched more foreign cinema? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Will they? Sure. No. I've talked to tons of people who are like, I don't watch subtitled movies.
Yeah.
So these American remakes definitely work for some people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as I'm sure if you've been a follower of the channel for a little while, you know that we were not big fans of Speak No Evil, even though we totally understand what the movie was going for, and I actually respect it for it. Like, I get the message, and like, I in theory like it, but it was such a, as I had said in the review, I think the movie was so successful.
Absolutely.
At what it was aiming for, because it pissed me off so much.
Yeah.
So I would not say that the movie is not successful, but that I didn't like watching it, which is kind of the point. So maybe it's a masterpiece. I don't know. So with this one, I was very interested to see, like, how much will they Americanize this?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, will they add or take away anything? I was super, super curious. So we went to this, and what is this about? This is about a couple that has a child, and they're on vacation, and they meet another couple with a child. They have a friendship that's formed, and the new couple that comes into their life invites them to stay with them for a week in some kind of like rural area.
Yeah.
And so they do come out, and things get weird, but you know, polite society would state, you know, just try to make things amicable. Don't try to
don't rock the boat.
Yeah, don't rock the boat. And of course, this kind of behavior can lead to some devastating consequences if you let it go too far. This one stars James McAvoy, as well as Mackenzie Davis and Scoot McNairy. And okay, so here's my thoughts on this film. I think that if you are a massive fan of the first one, if you love the original, you're going to hate what they did with this movie, for sure.
Yeah.
Because while I did enjoy watching this more, because this is much more of a crowd pleaser, and I think here's the thing, like, if you've seen the original, or if you know what happens in the original, I think that no matter what I say here, I don't know how to talk about this in any other way than to give spoilers. I'm not going to, but I am going to.
Yeah,
because there's no real way
to
compare this to the other one without someone being able to discern what the obvious takeaway is of how this is going to play out. So this review is very hard to do without like spoilers for people who know what happens in the original movie and how this will vary.
Yeah.
But I think that this is a perfect like companion piece of some alternate reality where what would happen if you took Americans and put them in the exact same situation as the Danish people in the first movie.
Right.
Because you have the polite society of Danish culture versus Americans who are like, nah, Give me my gun. You know what I mean? So I thought that was it. That was a funny way to take this because, yes, this is the most Americanized remake I've ever seen in my life. But it's because of how the characters react in that third act versus how the characters react in the third act in the first one.
Yeah. So I think for the comparison, the first 2/3 of the film play out very similar.
Oh my God, it's almost the exact same film.
Yeah, to the original. So nothing has changed there. It's just in the climax and the very ending that everything is wildly different. Definitely for us, I mean, we weren't fans of the ending of the original, so I did like this one more. I'm still not like a big fan of the movie in general. We were kind of talking about it on the drive home, and I think I just, for whatever reason, I have a hard time putting myself in the shoes of these characters because I would be not in this situation at all. And I don't mean that in a like, I'm smarter than them. I just mean like I have such a totally different personality and like just outlook on this kind of a scenario, I guess. Like the meeting people and hanging out with them, I guess. Like I just wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
So but I think that this one, like you said, it's a crowd pleaser. I think in the end it's very like hoorah, like you really are rooting for the characters and you get a lot of satisfaction out of what happens. Our audience was pretty reactive to the movie, which was really interesting because I don't know, I guess I just wasn't really expecting it, but I probably should have been because I do think that the movie is intended to make you feel like a visceral, you know, like shouting at the characters to do something or not do something, you know, type of thing. I think James McAvoy is great. He's always really scary when he's like a villain. He has such a really intense physical presence because he's buff, but it's not like, I don't know. I think he's just a really intense person when he plays these types of roles. So I did like him cast as the other father in that way because I think he brings as Patty, because he brings a physicality that was lacking for me in the first one, and that
100%.
That intimidation I think is really important.
100%.
So I did like his performance a lot, and you know, I think the kids in this did a great job too. That's definitely, you know, there's a boy. I think his performance is wonderful, and it's heartbreaking, you know, like just the whole like idea and situation. You're very like, I think any normal person is just like, I want to protect the kids at all costs.
Yeah.
So it does elicit that reaction still. Yeah.
So the funny part of watching this in the theater with the crowd that we were with, being in America, is that 99% of the audience had not seen the original. I could just tell. You can just tell by how people were reacting to things, how the situations were playing out, because people who had seen the original would be having different reactions. They wouldn't either be reacting at all, or they would be kind of like, like they changed that, that's interesting. Or like, oh my God, no, like what, that's so different than the original. This audience was 100% like the American audience that knows nothing of the original.
Yeah.
And so what was funny about it is that their reactions to this movie tell me this for sure, which is actually why I would really like to have seen the other version with this crowd. Because I'm going to tell you right now, and as I said, spoilers for anyone who's like even slightly intelligent that's seen the original. So you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about when I say this. If they played the other version, if like we had the same like actors, like, you know, James McAvoy and whatnot, and we played out the events of the original film exactly as they played out in that film, but within this film, I genuinely think our crowd would have started booing, throwing shit at the screen, screaming, which would have been really fucking entertaining. And I like, part of me almost wishes it went that way, even though I do prefer this. But once again, the uncomfortable nature, it's not because the original film is so dark. That's not what it is for me. It's as a parent, I really genuinely cannot believe that there would be no fight
Right. Yeah.
That's where I get it. I get the message. I'm going to get once again in the comments. You didn't get it. Okay. I got it. I just genuinely, but once again, that's the point of the movie. So maybe it's amazing and I'm just not like connecting there.
I think it's just,
But our theater would have fucking lost the way they're reacting to what these people do. And these people are doing a trillion times more.
They're doing so many things, like fighting back.
So many smart things, so many decisions that you'd want them to make. And they were even mad at them for those decisions.
Right, yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, I genuinely can't fathom for the life of me how they would have reacted to the other movie. They would have lost their shit. They would have went feral. They would have been screaming at this fucking screen. I guarantee it, because we already had people screaming at the screen for 1,000th the lack of, trying.
Yeah.
It's crazy how visceral the reaction was in the audience for such a crowd-pleasing, cathartic movie versus the oh my God.
Oh yeah.
People would be throwing shit, So that was an interesting juxtaposition of those two movies in my head.
Yeah, it definitely was. I think that you had said it right after we left, like, for most people, like, if you love the original, you probably won't like this because it doesn't have the same impact as far as, like, the theme and the message that the original does.
Yeah.
But if you hate the original, you probably will like this one more.
If you hate the original for the reasons we hate the original.
For those reasons,
right?
Yeah.
You'll be much more excited with how this goes.
Yeah. It's really interesting though, seeing the American version. It does show a really neat contrast between the two cultures, and so I do find that pretty fascinating. But like I said, I think that regardless, like, even though I did enjoy this one more, I think I'm just really not a big fan of the movie, like the concept in general, I guess. So that's the other thing too, is like, if you didn't vibe with it from the original for other reasons than just like how it ended, then you probably will feel a similar way with this one too, just that the ending is, a lot more
if you
bombastic, I guess.
If you didn't buy into any of the original, then yes, you're probably gonna be like, well, I liked the ending better, but overall I'm whatever on the movie, like she did.
Yeah, because the first...
I didn't have an issue with the first 2/3 of Speak No Evil. It was the last act. So this is the last act I wanted. This is the alternate reality version. So like, if you watch the first one, you always have the first one. So always remember that.
Yeah.
And to say, like, what if they fought back? If you wanted to see that version of the movie, here's your version.
Yeah.
Right? And it's going to be absolutely crowd-pleasing, fist-pumping catharsis. As to where the other one, so like I had said when we walked out of the theater, last thing here for me, is that for people, like, is this film more entertaining and more, like, exciting to watch? Yes. But does it have the same artistic message as the first one? Is it as impactful? Is it going to resonate as much with a person after the film? Will this linger with you for years to come after? Absolutely not. This is a very, like, safe version of that movie that is going to make people happier, but that's not the point of the first movie. So I think it does kind of miss the point. In fact, it 100% misses the point of what the original film is, and that's why people will be so mad about it, and I 100% get that.
Yeah, definitely.
But I'm not going to lie and say I didn't enjoy this ending more, because it's more of what I personally resonate with.
Yeah.
But I completely understand why the first one's way more impactful, and that actually has a message to it. That being said, I do still think this has a message to it. It's just that you need to pivot, right? It's that you can have the like pleasant culture kind of like attitude, right? Where you're just kind of sitting back and you're like taking things on the chin and being a doormat to a degree, right? And then for me, this movie does it so much better because, to me, and this is how film typically plays out, everyone has a breaking point.
Yeah.
Right? No matter how fucking polite you are, no matter how much of a doormat you are, every person has a breaking point.
Yeah.
And for the first movie, they just don't. And to me, that just isn't realistic. And that's where, and it doesn't matter. Like, I know that it's a message, right? You're not supposed to take things literally. And I get it. It's a knock on polite society, right? We're way too fucking polite. But this is that version of like, we're way too polite, but everyone has a breaking point.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think they both have their merits. The other one is much more, impactful with its message because of how dark it is, and it leaves you you feel very grim. And when you feel that like that coming out, it is more like it stays with you
Yeah, it
longer.
definitely does.
As to where this one, I feel like if this is the only one that existed, it would be like, that was fun. That was a good time.
Yeah.
Like, that was a fist bumper kind of movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I don't know, I wouldn't talk about it that much. But I still really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
She didn't like it as much as me because she doesn't like the first 2/3. I really enjoyed that. Yeah. This is the version of the film I wanted to see, and I'm very glad that this exists. But I understand the merits of the original.
Yeah, totally. I agree.
So
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what everybody thinks, definitely.
Actually, I'm sorry. I said last thing. This is the last thing. I actually find this funny because James Watkins directed this movie and wrote it for the screen off of that, which is really interesting to me because he made a movie called Eden Lake. And Eden Lake has one of the darkest, most depressing, fucked up endings to a movie kind of like this that I've ever watched. And people talk about it to this day. And for him to take the original movie and kind of flip it and to not, he kind of is the perfect director for this after now having seen that he did Eden Lake. It is funny to me that he would take a movie kind of like Eden Lake and make it so not Eden Lake. That is kind of funny to me. I just realized this now because I'm looking at him again and being like, oh yeah, that's the dude that did Eden Lake. That ending is it's another one of those like fuck endings like the original Speak No Evil. So it's funny that he would take this and make it more crowd pleasing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, all right, that's it. Speak No Evil. I'm sure. Comments. Here we go again.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think
we had over 400 in the last one.
Remember, you can like one or the other.
It was split.
Or both.
It was very split. Very, pardon the James McAvoy pun there, but it is a very split film, right? And that's kind of like what makes it so good is that it really splits audiences and people are like, you're a fucking idiot if you don't love this movie, or like you're a fucking pussy if you love this movie. You know what I mean? That's what we got in the comments. It's crazy how much division there was in those comments. And still is to this day, 2 years later. I still get a comment probably once a week from people being like, I hated this fucking movie. Especially now it's ramping back up because people are watching it for this.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Let us know what you guys think.
Definitely.
Which one did you like more? Why did you like it more?
On IMDb right now, it has a 7.1.
Yeah. I think a lot of American audiences who haven't seen the original will definitely enjoy this. But yeah, I'm curious about what everyone thinks. So.
I already know what they're going to think. All right, guys. We'll see you in the comments. Bye.